Hello, everyone.
Hello, welcome to
Yeah.
DevKami number 20.
6,
Huh?
25.
26. It's actually 26. 25 is last week.
Yeah, it's 26.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's
Cultural
26.
fit.
Yep. Today we talk about culture and skill versus skill.
Yeah,
But as
I'm gonna
usual,
mute
my name is
Wendy.
Ming,
I
and we
am
have,
Tristan.
yes,
Yep,
and
I'm Chi Leong. Introduce yourself, everyone.
yep,
I'm Johnson.
Yeah. And we have Wendy.
yes, which is
Yeah,
busy recently, but
yeah,
say hi, Wendy.
She's
Okay.
busy.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
She's driving right now.
Oh, okay. Be safe.
Okay.
All right. So I think we should delay bus corner as long as possible then.
Why?
Just kidding. All right. What we have for the next week?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the events going on in the town.
Yep.
I'm gonna mute Wendy for a bit.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Sorry, just give me a second.
There's a bit of ambient noise.
Yep.
So yeah, we're gonna do a bit of after we did the wait.
okay. So next week, I think we had nothing happening other than
Nothing.
there's a roundtable session that nobody can tell me what it is about. And the next event only comes in.
Yeah, roundtable. I don't know what is going on with that. So
Yep.
we just assume that it's not going to happen.
Yep. So we can jump all the way to Saturday, March 30th.
Yeah.
We
We have two events on that day.
Yep.
The next Saturday, intro into web development,
Yes.
HTML, CSS, and JS, organized by Malcolm Key of React KL.
And
So it's a free workshop.
mhm.
So-
If you're going to go sign up and make sure you do not drop out in the last minute.
Yeah.
Recently the organizing for several meetup have the issue where they actually bought food for you guys and people drop out. It's a waste of food.
Yeah. Bit bad, is it?
Yes, so be
Yeah.
nice. Do not
And
waste food.
yeah, and on the
And-
same day we have an Indie Hack session.
Yep, and this is actually happening at Rapid River Software, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rapid River Software. It's at
Vertical at Bangsa South.
Vertical Bangsar South.
So it's Saturday. It's got nice
It's
view, a bit
It's
hot.
actually interesting. So I've been to the other indie hacks,
Yep.
and it's you do anything like side projects or like blog posts or
Mhm.
whatever, as long as it's not related to your actual work.
Okay, that's tough.
So
Okay.
it's like for example, assuming if you were there, then you'll probably do something with the PM 2.5
Yeah.
sensors or something, right? So it's like a hackathon, but like a really relaxed, chill hackathon without any pitching at the end.
Cool. All right. Okay. All right. Don't worry about that. We have on chat room somebody to talk about some roundtable thing. Don't worry about that. I think that we should move on to Bus Corner because it's a dry season. It's a dry season. I mean, the next meetup will be like the week after. I think
We're gonna do it
talk
next
about
week.
it
Then,
next week,
yeah.
lah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also,
So-
tomorrow, the next week, next Tuesday is supposed to be last Tuesday of the month,
Yep.
and supposed to have a Golang meetup, but I've decided not to do it, and we are experimenting something new. So if there is not much of a like topic going on, is like because usually we do knowledge sharing like workshop like kind of a live coding session. So instead of having a physical meetup, we'll be doing on weekly or Wednesday 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. 1 hour every week. Like just join in and ask any question. What do you want to see that you can do in Golang? So Yep.
All right.
Also,
So-
yeah, well, with the events yesterday was like a really huge turnout for JavaScript.
Yeah, it's
I
not
don't
even.
know what's
I won't call it
happening.
JavaScript meetup. I will call it a JavaScript mini conference. So the first mini PyCon, I'm going to be very bitter about this, but I'm going to say it again. The first Python Malaysia conference is a mini conference.
we have 60 persons.
Oh, I thought it's 75.
No, it's 60.
Yes. And that is the size of a conference.
So it's like less than half of the meetup, the monthly meetup of
Yes.
JavaScript in Microsoft Menara Shell.
Correct.
It's amazing. It's lots of
So,
people.
and the content is actually very good.
Mhm.
And you
Oh,
got
yeah.
a lot of people, the food is good and all that. Good
So if you
view.
haven't been attending the meetups and supporting the community, then you're missing out on a lot because it
Yes.
was a really good turnout yesterday.
Correct.
DevOps is also very good in Menara Maxis.
Yes.
So
And this should give me okay, so this give me pressure to actually do my Python meetup better. But let's move on.
yeah, what's our buzz corner looking
So
like?
Cloudflare, is it Cloudflare actually? Yeah, Cloudflare actually introduced new tools to detect HTTPS interception.
Hmm.
So HTTPS interception is one of those hacking method, but I'm from the NGO scene. Certain countries will employ this method to actually spy on their citizen. For example,
China.
yep, especially China, as several third world dictatorship. So they really wants it. But this my relationship to things like HTTPS interception. So what do you think about this, Tristan?
I think it's interesting. For one thing, it it's scary because HTTP is supposed to be unsnoopable,
Yep.
but on another thing, it allows something like transparent VPNs, I guess, if you have uh, like a some sort of like middleman that.
Mhm.
Oh wait, this is the point that they cannot detect. They can start detecting it, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so it's just about the scary thing, because now like instead of being able to trust the protocol, then you don't know.
Yeah,
You might be connecting to a middleman, and you don't know. It's masquerading as the website that you're visiting.
correct. So Cloudflare released a new tool. What's the next one? Cloudflare to Terraform. Anybody know?
Yeah.
So yeah, Cloudcraft is like this like assembly thing. It's like Sketch for AWS. Is that right, Chilong? Have you tried Cloudcraft before?
No.
So it's like Sketch. You
Is
know
it
Sketch, right?
is it like
I'm
cloud formation?
Sorry.
Is it like cloud formation from AWS? Something like that.
Yes. So
Okay.
it's not necessary. It's like a visual. Like Factorio, right? You have your widgets,
Mhm.
and then you arrange them in the thing, and then Cloudcraft allows you to do it. So it's just them. Um, so the output of that design, they just make it into an actual like instances
Mhm.
in AWS.
It sounds like cloud formation to me. I mean, this is what cloud formation been doing. But I never
Yeah,
heard
but
of
you
it.
have to
Yeah,
program it, right? You
yeah,
have to
yeah, yeah,
program it.
yeah.
This is visual. It's like Sketch. It's like you
Ah,
would
okay.
make like you drag and drop stuff onto a canvas, and then you see the
Ah,
traces. And they used to be like, if you wanted to estimate the cost of an AWS architecture, then you'll do
right.
it here. Then they'll give you an estimate. But now what they're doing is like they can export it to a Terraform configuration. You run that Terraform configuration, it creates the instances for you.
Cool.
So it's
So I
a
think
what drag and drop AWS setup.
okay. So I think this is the last one that we can cover before we run out of time.
No, we have 5 minutes because we started late.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
So the next one is Google Cloud Next.
Yeah.
It's a conference for Google Cloud thing, right?
Yeah.
It's
I
in
don't know
San
about that.
Francisco, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's in San Francisco, but they will release video.
Yeah, I think people will just have a party to watch the video.
Yes.
Yeah, GDG usually has like watch parties.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they usually do it for the big Google I/O.
Yep.
Mm.
So it's less toward the smaller conference.
What does Next normally cover?
I do not know actually.
I've
I
never
just learned
been.
about it.
Okay.
But if there's a indication, the Google TensorFlow event had that happened not too long ago. Actually, talk about like new stuff. As in the new API for new feature for TensorFlow, new API. In this case, they tie into the latest, the next release 2.0, which is a lot of stuff. Then they introduce some crazy thing like putting running TensorFlow on microcontrollers. So if there is indication, there'll be like new stuff, new technology that they try to put on their services and whatnot.
I wonder if they're going to cover the new release of Flutter.
I doubt it because this seems to be cloud service, but who knows?
Because I think, was it 2 weeks ago or last week, Mobile Developers Congress, they announced Flutter 1.2,
Right.
of course, Dart, the new Dart SDK, etc. And then there are news of having a web platform as a target of a Flutter project. So it's not just going to target, so same code base, but it's going to target Android and iOS and desktop, and now also web. So it's going to be an interesting thing.
Stadia will run on the web. Stadia is the Google cloud gaming thing.
Yeah. If you remember, there used to be a service called OnLive.
Yeah.
No, I
So
don't remember that.
and they want to target browser, target the game service on browser.
Yeah,
Coincidence, you decide.
So is it using something like cloud GPU? That's what they want to achieve with Stadia?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the coincidence is they just added the driver support for Nintendo Switch Pro controller on Chrome.
So
coincidence?
Yeah.
We sound like conspiracy theories for something so mundane.
Oh,
but you know, I'm using cloud gaming right now. No, is she okay? I think she's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm before the stream was starting, right? I was telling Chilo, I'm using cloud gaming right now. The gaming computer is there on the living room because it's very hot in the living room. I'm here in the bedroom with the air conditioning, etc. And it's actually very good. I'm playing on a potato laptop, and also sometimes in the office, I tried it out. It's actually quite good. The latency is not bad. It's like it's almost instant, and the graphic streaming is very good. And that's with like. It's actually quite good.
I'm looking at the screen, my eye hurts.
Well, it's better than this Hangouts.
Yeah. It's better than this Hangout. Yeah. But I play on my PS4. My PS4 looks better, so I'm biased. I'm biased.
If you have like, it's different from like actually rendering the pixel on your.
But it's still amazing because the speed it renders over the network is still pretty amazing.
Yeah. So Stadia is right now is okay with 1080p 60 FPS, but they're targeting 4K 60 at 120.
Yep.
So I don't know how you're going to push all of that video streaming down the pipeline.
Well, for me, I'm just glad that I have 500 megabit per second. As long as they got a caching server down here, it might be fine. Because I think we should move on.
We should move on.
We should really move on. We go so far away.
Yeah, we lost Fendi. Hopefully she join us back afterwards.
All right, so let's why we talk about culture again?
It's a continuity of the topic about the last week's topic about like culture fit versus skill, and what is the definition of culture fit.
Oh, actually, I also
remember
one thing why I got raised this. Because the local company cultures do not value technical skill. Yeah, that's a culture part. I remember now.
No, I thought we were talking about jobs, right? Like because last week's episode was about jobs, and then this came out like what
salary?
How are you hiring, right? Like what kind of people are you hiring? And I think what came out was that there's no lack of skill in Malaysia, but sometimes the people that you're looking for are not a fit. And the problem was, how do you actually define a culture fit?
It's one of those things because we last week, so as a recap, we discovered we talked about quite a number of things. Why do we hire foreigners? Why local developers do not always get jobs? And all that. So the conclusion we made last week is culture. Whether a tech worker down in Malaysia can have the fit into the culture of startups, right? So that's why we raised up into this. But let's talk about culture. What do you consider as a culture in your workplace?
So it's I can talk about the previous company I was with,
Yep.
and it's also something similar. Um, Being able to work with people that you get along with is very important if you're doing something remote,
Mhm.
right? Because if someone is remote, not physically present, the
Yep.
uncertainty of whether you can trust this person, or is this person reliable, will this person follow through, or be able to deliver on what they're promising,
Mhm.
it's the uncertainty is not very, it's not a very good feeling. And so when all of, like, for example, on a particular team, when the culture is there where for example, whenever we're doing a stand up, everyone has their webcam on. Like
Mhm.
that somehow evolved as a culture for the team, or that remote goes first. Like every remote people who are not in the office goes and says first. There's no need for someone to say, okay, you go next, because we all treat each other equally. So as the team culture evolves with each other, there's a lot more trust. And
So
in
you're
fact,
talking. What you're
yeah,
talking just now is about ritual, right?
yeah. So it's part of the team culture, and yeah, it's the artifact of of that culture. It will be the rituals that are unwritten, but it's just because we decided this is actually good. We didn't even write it down. We just said, okay, this is just how we're going to be doing things, and
Mhm.
because it's repeatable, it happens every week, every day. We trust ourselves to follow it, and we feel better with each other.
Chiliang, what you can know about culture?
Culture is something that grow in my stomach. We digest my food. No, it's it's I cannot say that I know exactly what is that, but at least from the trial and error, like from work and stuff, is that um, one thing is the most important thing is the communication part,
Mhm.
where everybody like willing to communicate,
Mhm.
not
So John,
just
oh sorry.
just okay.
Yeah.
Just go on there.
So, but for example, so the question there is, if someone's not willing to communicate, will you get that person hired? And if you had a false positive, you thought this person can communicate, and they get hired, will you get them fired?
I don't know. I don't see it as a firing as a solution. As in, if we can, we try to like encourage. I mean, it's a lot of the time. A lot of the habits and stuff that we see in people is just that they were used to things working for them, like in certain ways that with enough influence and stuff, they can be changed. I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
so
Okay.
far I'm considered lucky. I think I'm the bubble person because I'm considered pretty lucky, as in I don't see that don't get to encounter that much of problematic
Mhm.
people
Okay. So
for work. Yeah.
right. So how about Johnson? What do you think about what is a work culture thing is?
Oh,
Uh,
we are friendly now.
Yeah.
In
We
person.
start with that. Start
um,
with Johnson
She's
first.
alive.
So let's talk about culture. What do you
okay.
think?
I mean, I just started working like last year, so still learning a bit because in the past I've been like taking freelancing and just working by myself,
Mhm.
and I slowly adapt to work in a team. Although my team is a bit small,
Mhm.
but we start to adapt. I start to learn like how agile works. How do you have like we are using like a bit like Kanban and
Mhm.
Scrum style of working.
Yep.
So I never encounter. I mean, I never do this kind of stuff before. So I'm slowly picking up with the culture. But so
Mhm.
far, I kind of like the culture in my company now.
But do
But
you think you're a culture fit?
Um, it takes time. I mean, in the past, I do stuff without using stuff like Trello or yeah, just to keep track of stuff. But right now, I learned to start to do like tracking all my stuff.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think some people might want to hit me again. Yeah, don't get too fixated with the tool set.
yep.
Yeah.
It's about like what are you trying to achieve from the tools, like to achieve like synchronization with the team and stuff. You do it via Trello. So
Yep.
It's just
Yeah.
a tool, but the form can be in different ways.
Yep.
So right.
Yep.
So how about Wendy? Is Wendy
We
willing to
lost
talk?
Wendy again. Oh, there she
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you think about work culture? How do you what's the experience between different work cultures? Wendy?
Oh, what's my
Yeah. It's about so look, what do you think about work culture and what's your little experience
Because-
with different work cultures?
Just share a bit of your experience.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My experience. So I worked with like, I guess, I can talk about corporate culture and also startup culture. Because before this last year, I was working with enterprise for about 2 years, and the culture there is like everything is really structured. I know what to expect the next day. I know, yeah, and basically everything is set up. So you just kind of go with the flow. But when I transition into my current company, which is a startup, things can be very interesting day to day.
As in, things can get really busy.
Can get really busy and also quite exciting as well. Cause like one moment I'll be doing testing, suddenly like I'm on AWS, like, hey, what am I doing here? Oh, because something went wrong, and I'll be taken to places that I never would have the chance to do in enterprise because someone is already doing that.
Right.
But that's actually something I find different from corporate and startup, right? Like
Yeah.
in corporate, like some like server had a problem, it's not my problem. Someone else
Yeah.
does it. But in startup, like everything is your problem, and everyone has a sense of ownership for the startup, for the company.
And that is what we are going to cover about, like what sort of values do you, I mean, when we say culture fit, what sort of values that you are expecting from someone, like from like just like what Wendy said just now, for me the most important thing is the willingness to step out of the comfort zone, willing to try out different things. Of course,
and bring down the whole company with you.
Yeah, just don't bring down the whole company. Communicate, ask if you don't know, but the very important thing is to step out of the comfort zone. Yeah, and not like, oh, this is not my job, like, oh, or just pushing the stuff around, you know.
So, goodness, I lost it. Okay, now here's my thing about culture, right? Everybody had different culture, and this is like, I'm saying nothing down here. I literally say nothing down here, but
your nothing is wisdom to us.
Correct.
Correct.
So, but there's this video I really like. It's called the IBM song. Have you heard of it before?
Nope.
I will share the link. It's actually from the original song doesn't exist anymore, but there is a rendering remake of it from the movie.
I remember it.
From the movie called Pirates of Silicon Valley. I'll share the link on the chat.
A real movie? Or like a
it's a very old movie, but so inside it actually describes two different type of culture. The movie is mostly about Jobs versus Steve Jobs versus Bill Gates, Microsoft versus Apple. Then they go in, then Apple go to a corporate way, then I make fun of it. So it's a clash of culture in the world where they first trying to sell a PC.
So, is it safe to be shared on the chat?
Yes, it's safe. It's it's safe. It's a 1960s language, so it's actually funny. But why I like that song is because in an established entity like IBM, you are expected to work a certain way. You're expected to work for a company, for the goal of a company, right? In a certain way, most even startup is like that, but it's implicit. It's implicit in the way that in a startup you go in because you have your coverage of responsibility is wider in a way that, like Wendy said, you have to take care of the server while writing code and all that at the same time. So, and as a result, if you mess up, you will take down your company with you as a small team, right? But in a big organization, in IBM, for example, you are expected to work toward the goal. So the company had a goal, and you work toward it. Maybe you don't work like upper level and lower level, but you work toward the company, right? That's company culture. So a startup culture and company culture is different, which is why I recommend you to try to find the movie.
Yeah, it's not
prior
that
to
any
release.
site is bad. It's just that you have to strike the. Yeah,
Correct.
it's very easy for me to say it up here, but it's actually striking the balance is very hard.
Yes. So within the movie 2 also, I'm going to spoil it anyway. So IBM have their own way to do things that can go in, but inside there's also talking about management style of. It's a fictionalized account of a management Apple. So they're starting from very small, very garage. Everybody do their own thing until they go really big, it's a $1 billion company. Then how they run the company, competition, all that. So you can see a shift of culture from very scrappy startup to a big company. Every small company has small problem, big company have big problem. So, and those actually lead to your culture and what it is, right? And when Johnson talked about culture, he talked about ritual. So it's what Tristan says, it's about ritual. But culture is beyond ritual. Stand-up is a ritual, but why we had that ritual? Because we need the ritual to form the culture, communicate within the team. So that's another thing to think about, ritual and culture.
It's a way for the environment to
Yeah.
influence the culture, and the culture influences the environment.
Yes.
So and it's like one or the other. It's like electromagnetism. It one changes into the other, and so if you initiate a change on one end, it will cause a change on the other.
And this is me pretending to be an anthropologist because that's what I want to do when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, let's talk about what kind of culture you prefer to see in your organization. What you think is the thing that an organization do that make you work better or feel good?
I can talk about the current one.
Yep.
So what I feel that I think Wendy, you mentioned that I was quite satisfied with what I have right now, right? With my current job, because I am, and I think what I was talking about was the free lunches, because that was actually something very unexpected. You'd think that it's like something simple, but if you as a team, like as people in the same office, go out at lunch together and you talk, there's a lot more bonding, there's a lot more talk, you get to know each and everyone more closely. And I've only been in the company for like 3 weeks, and I feel that I've known everyone already. It's because of that everyday lunch and talking to them every day and finding out their interest and everything, right? So these things, I feel are very, very important. I don't know. I feel that people think lunches are like simple things, and that like you can have lunch anytime. But that point of contact, it's almost like a scrum for the whole company, right?
There's some for morale. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that thing is very, very well done.
Yeah. So I before I joined the current one, I used to join to a small startup. It's during lunch where I realized that the culture fit between me and the team doesn't mix up. So
because they talk Chinese and you don't talk.
No. It's
Because
it's
they
less.
order teh and you order coffee.
No. It's less toward me being a half banana and they're primarily Chinese speaker.
Oh, okay.
It's less toward that. That helps. But my goal in the organization is to build, is to grow skill, build things, do good, right? Money helps me decide, but that's not the only thing, right? The organization I'm in are a financial education company. So they are very money focused. So the end goal is money.
Yeah, I don't see any wrong with
There's
that.
nothing wrong with it, but
a business is supposed to make money.
Correct. But I also interested. when they're interested in something, it's very shallow, whereas I'm really going very deep into technology. That's where the alignment doesn't mix up.
Yeah. I want to introduce a topic which I just remember right now.
Yeah.
Is that do you experience? I mean, in case of you experience it, and also like, what do you think about tribalism? Because it tends to be really easy for people to group together in a workplace. Then they form then they have their own like small circle, and they are the like elite teams and stuff.
Mhm.
What do you guys think about that? Like
Clicks,
tribalism?
right?
Yeah.
Clicks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
click.
kind of unavoidable when you have like a lot of people. Like in my company, there's so little. There are not many people, so you can't form cliques. Like
Okay.
when you have, I think, like more than a certain number of people, that these are natural.
Yeah, it's actually what we call a Dunbar's number.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm
Who
going
is
to keep
Mr.
contact number.
Dunbar? Who is Mr. Dunbar?
He
We need to talk about that in one episode.
Dunbar's number essentially says that we human can only effectively hold 200 people in our head. Beyond that, it doesn't work. And why 200 people? Because this is roughly the size of a small village. Why Dunbar's number important? Different big organization have big problem, also have big, but for a big organization to work, you need to split into bigger, small, 400, 200 or so. But another thing, part about Dunbar's number is we are only have 5 to 10 people that are very close with. So this is roughly a family, but outside family we have maybe 20. We have another 20 people, so family members and another.
I think
20
it's all
people.
down to the maturity of that person as well.
Correct. But so Dunbar's number is why I like that number is because how cliques happen, because you easily form a group of roughly 20 people. So that's how you form that's the beginning of a clique, right? But tribalism is beyond just a clique. It's something like
it's like a secret society, but within a company.
Is it like QA versus software developers?
correct. That's the best example of it. Security.
Or in some situation, let me make it wider. In some situation, certain groups of people that like you might have a group of people that are really good, but they form their own small tribes that look down on the rest of the and not being helpful to the others groups, like being like something like that.
Do you think this is more because like Wendy was mentioning, right? Corporate, there's
Yeah.
all of these structures, things. Don't you think it's more in those cultures rather than a startup where everyone owns everything and then just touches everything else?
And you might be actually right. In sales-oriented companies, sales are usually grouped by
Department, function.
Group.
How do you
group, right? They got team. They're split into teams.
Mm-hmm.
Split into teams, and each of these teams are fighting toward a sales number.
Because your audience is only limited, and so you have a quota, and then
you're correct.
fighting for the same pie.
Then you would take a big company. We have multi-product that being so supported one way or another. Each of those take resources, and company have limited resources to actually fight for it, to actually maintain those. Therefore, they fight for resources. It's the way how traditionally company being managed. Okay. So there is actually one reason why you see tribalism in traditional company. That is a bit more obvious. Teams fight for resources to grow their team to do more things.
Mm-hmm.
Let me also give you an example. Sometimes it might not be intentional. Like, like in my current situation, there's an obvious gap between the juniors and the senior. So like whenever the seniors are around doing something, like we normally hang out around the couch area. It's like even though like we are not purposely doing it, but the juniors will like treat that area as like, oh, it's a place only like for the senior guys to hang out, and that is their headquarters or something. Like, it's in a way it's unintentional tribes.
Yes.
But how
it's
do we actually bridge the gap between, like, I mean, of course, we know the answer, like communication
It's
and stuff like
I
that.
think this was the proper term for this was the power gap. I think I forgot. Like there's
No, it's
let me search.
you're reversing the situation right now.
Yep.
Power gap happens when somebody high rank lead toward the lower rank staff. But power difference lead to groups, which is why I say it's the other way around, right? So another good example is people from same university have tendency to form same group when they are placed together, etc. For example, but tribalism is more common talk about in departments. That is more common. Then within department, they split further, senior, junior, and all that. It's how society form, right? How groups form because similarity of situation form.
It's actually not necessarily that it's bad, but
yes,
it's just that how productive you can make it.
So my current company have this thing that they force everybody to do. Every quarter we have to switch seat.
Like school.
Yeah. So we had to draw a lot, then we had to change it. If we have gained the same seat or same neighbor, we have to draw again. That is you may find it that silly, but it's very effective because you do not for a small team, you do not want the software guys in one corner and the people in the other corner, right? You need people to mix around, walk around. Then in the middle, this I don't think they're intentional, but in the middle of the office is a pantry.
Okay.
That's very weird. I do not. It's not middle, but it's halfway. They can pass. It's not intentional. Actually, it's not really intentional.
Is it being? I mean, in the middle, as in the rest of the office encapsulating this pantry.
No. It's on the side. It's on the side, but toward the middle. Our office is relatively narrow. Think of it as a rectangle. So the pantry is the middle of the rectangle. And this actually, well, I don't think it's intentional, but it leads to a very interesting effect. The software guys are in different corner of the room, right? They go to a corner in the pantry to start working together. But here's the cool thing. We actually have the business analysts and all the guys that want opinion and all that. So they also go to the pantry. Then everybody start talking about it and start discussing whatever they need to discuss.
That's a water cooler chat, right?
Correct. And I think it only works well for us because the goal of the mission of organization is very simple: to deliver product. But to deliver product means getting opinion from different stakeholders to make sure it built correctly, right? We have this understanding, which is a good thing. Point number one, the culture, a commonality and understanding the situation. Companies, and when I say big company, tendency to force you to do that, and small company implicitly force you that. What they're forcing you to the same vision is the same mission. I call it the mission to deliver product. Company force you slogans and all that for the company. The startup, your job is to make sure your product up long enough so that you get money and all that, right? So it's an implicit, explicit way to go toward that. But culture form when you had a mission that you can look at. That's one. Culture also form when you got the size of the group. Our organization is small, therefore we can talk to each other. That's one. Smaller startup, like Randy said, tend to means that one person can mess up things up. So as a result, then also artifact. In this case, the pantry. The pantry leads to a formation of culture. So you need a few of these things together to form a culture you can work with. But I think I should move on. So, and what you guys think about that?
So, I was talking about the power thing. It's actually a power distance.
Yes.
And you were talking about you should know this guy Hofstede, maybe.
Yeah.
He's a famous business anthropologist. I'm looking at the Wikipedia entry on power distance.
Yep.
It's one of the components of his theory of 6 dimensions of culture. And he actually mentioned here that low power distance index culture would be like Netherlands, UK, the United States, Germany, Nordic countries. So it means people are not as much concerned with status. So people, like, you call your boss by the first name, for example, right?
Correct.
Whereas, for example, in the Philippines, where we have a high power distance index, you'll never call your boss by their first name. You'll call them by boss or sir or something, right? Or ma'am,
Yeah.
or it's never by the first name because
Yes.
of a high power distance index. And they say some examples. This is a Wikipedia page, so you people might disagree, but it's like Belgium, France, Malaysia, and the Arab world will be countries or regions with high power distance index values, cultures. The thing is, in my previous company, because it's a very US type influence, that we have a lot of expats and foreigners there, that power distance index is actually quite low. So we call each other, even our managers, by the first name, and we argue with the managers a lot. And even though it's their manager, they're the ones who are going to be doing the performance evaluations on us. We it's not so much concerned about status. The reason why I thought that the couch area was like people staying there was because probably the culture in Malaysia is such that even in school, right? Like the teacher, the professor is the holder of authority and knowledge, and so it's already a training from very young. That
I think that is something that is really hard to get rid of.
Yes,
Yeah.
you need
When
to
it's ingrained.
you
So-
need to be a rebel from the beginning.
Well, yeah, if the
Like
environment,
swimming.
if the environment allows you to, right? If especially if the professor encourages you to challenge their thing.
Oh,
Right.
actually, I give you that story. My professor gave up on me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to ask, like, for example, Kilian was saying, oh, sorry, I wasn't watching the was Swimming trying to say something? No, okay, no,
Simi
I'm
just
back
want to
the-
prove a point that he's actually been
Yes.
always been a rebel.
Yeah. So Chiliong mentioned this, so it's the couch, right? The
Yeah.
couch area, and I thought that was an indication of a high power distance index
Yeah.
thing, because everyone's concerned about status. That, oh, okay, the couch is a high status area, I shouldn't be there. Whereas
Correct.
like people who don't care so much, that okay, it's the couch, I feel comfortable or something. So maybe we can go with Wendy and then Swimming and then Johnson, because that's
Yeah.
according to
I
the,
would
what?
like
Let's
to
go with
hear
Wendy
some.
and Johnson,
what's the
then
power
later.
distance
Yeah.
index
yeah.
of your
And what do you
workplace.
experience at workplace?
Yes.
Johnson has.
Yeah,
Okay,
just-
the other way around.
I missed the question. Sorry.
I was talking about power distance, and then Chi Leong was mentioning something about the couch, and that I thought that was a good indication of a high power distance,
Yeah.
because the couch is a status symbol, basically, in your in the place, right? And
Yeah.
so, and people were concerned about status, like, oh, I don't want to be there because I'm a junior. Whereas, if that was, for example, in my previous company where there's a lot of expats, very low power distance index, it's not going to happen. People are going to go first come first serve, even if you are like the newest intern there, just because people don't care about status so much.
Mm.
How about in your workplace?
Because my current company, we are a very small team. We have less than 10 people. So even our boss sit with us because we have 2 co-founders, and then we are sitting. Everyone is sitting together, and
How do you call your boss? Like, do you call them boss, or do you call them by the first name?
just call them by their name.
Mm.
Yeah. So
So do you have an issue communicating with them? Like, no.
everyone is on earphones, so sometimes you need to just message them.
Good.
Yeah. Overall, it's still good. Don't feel a gap between like he's my boss. I don't feel like it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
What's your
we
name?
also do like peer-to-peer review. Even the boss also do a bit of codes as well.
Mm.
Yeah, so we do like peer reviews because he's good at some part of the development from back end, but I'm good at front end, so we help each other when we try to develop stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Swimming, how about you? Power distance index?
So I used to talk to head of one of those department in
Everybody respects
scope.
swimming. Come on. Sorry.
The awkward situation is like I casually talked to one of the head of department in scope, and that he looked at me weirdly, and he had to answer me because I do not know anything. So, so yeah, okay. So big company. My experience in big company is, people look at me weirdly because I don't have filter. I literally don't have filter. So it's like,
Yeah,
what is
but
wrong
that's
with you?
actually interesting because now we go back to culture fit after Wendy, for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
says it. But like this is the thing about culture fit, right? Like
Yeah,
someone
it didn't
who's
fit.
used to low power index, let's say
Yeah.
that's an example, low power distance index, will they fit into a high power distance index,
Yeah.
or will people think of you as very rude?
Yeah.
Because you just keep on you have no filter. Whereas
Yes.
if on a low power distance index culture,
Yes.
you're just normal
Yeah.
basically.
No.
Yeah. No, yeah, like we'll talk about that after
Correct.
Wendy, because that's the
Yeah,
next
correct.
topic we have.
Wendy, can you please say?
So the power index in power difference index for me, like in both places that I've worked, I think it's quite low, and I think it's also because of my bosses and upper management's effort to make it seem that way. They sit in the same areas as we do. They wear t-shirts like we do, and when they talk to us, they make us feel like we're on the same level, sort of. So it's really their efforts to make us feel like we're
Yep. Yeah, it's true.
needed. So,
But do you call them by the first names?
Yeah.
No, boss, ma'am, whatever.
No.
Okay.
At first, I didn't know, like, should I call you a Mr. or Mrs. something? And then I see everyone around me calling them by their first names. So,
Okay, cool.
yeah, and it's quite interesting that Siring mentioned there's a pantry in the middle of your office, because I realized that it's always the place where people gather. I don't know if in other countries it's the same, but if you have like a snack corner, everybody gets hungry at the same time, so everyone will go there at the same time, and then you will talk like, hey, pass me that bag of chips. Also, how was your day? So it's like the water cooler for Malaysians, I guess.
Yeah.
I do think it's a very underrated culture and artifact.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that like even though Malaysia is considered generally as a high power distance index country, like pockets of organizations inside the Malaysia are still low power index. I don't think there's a good or bad thing. It's just like different, right?
Yes.
Like for example, in definitely in fast food, it's a high power distance index because people like the manager is the manager, and then they
Yeah.
have the card, and then the cashiers
Yeah,
will simply accept that they're just a cashier. They're not going to be able to
you're
give
just
orders
part of
to
the
other people.
pipelines.
Yeah, exactly. It's different. And I guess like these things in terms of culture fit, right? Or in terms of the culture shape, the business shaping the culture, it's just easier to process things like in a more regular manner, in a consistent manner, like fast food or factories maybe, when there's high power distance index, because like everyone accepts that power is not shared equally, and so everyone just does what they're expected to do, like some sort of a hierarchy or caste system.
Yeah, but sometimes it's necessity because a company that is more than 200 people will need to be separated into a different group. As a result, you got managers talking to each other. So it's like a squad on top of a squad, So it's because it's a startup is easier because the team is very rare for a typical startup to be more than 200 people. In fact, it's hard to find any that's more than 50 people at all. 20 is common, right? As a result, it's very those kind of environment had a very low power index. A bigger company had a different story altogether.
Yeah, but as you grow, you face the issue of having to juggle between like what sort of things should be in, because
Correct.
when you have that amount of people, that things, I mean, it become another kind of like similar to tech. You have scaling issues.
Yeah. People scaling issue is called the first the first organization that have scaling issue on the organization is royalty and the army, which is why it's split into multiple subgroups. Then each of the subgroup have more power than each other. That's where power index comes in, right? Except in Malaysia, the SME, which is by organization small, had a very big power distance. I'm just saying, my point is power distance comes from that level, split out organization, but it's also a culture that inherit from there. So small organization also have this thing.
I think language, I mean, being in Malaysia, the language thing is also something that's quite big. It's very hard to change because it's something people do unconsciously as well. If I feel more comfortable speaking Mandarin to you, it's very likely I will. But by doing that, unconsciously I'm isolating, the other people who
Yeah.
Mandarin around me. And eventually that forms cliques.
Yeah.
Of people who just speak Mandarin
And
it's
that's
not malicious, but you can.
That's actually true because culture is the form is how we form cliques, which is why you got Penang people and Klang people, even though they're almost Christian.
Oh, but is so the more important question there is that because you talked about last week, right? Jobs and culture fit. Like,
Yeah.
will you not hire someone who is not a culture fit? It's a double negative. Will you hire someone because they're a culture fit, even though they don't have the skill yet, and so because they're a culture fit, they're trainable? Or will you reject someone who is not a culture fit because even though they have the skills that they need?
That's a tough one, but because human is flexible. Put it this way, I have seen people from the corporate world join a startup and adapt to the agile way of doing things. So there is people that is from a inflexible culture adapting to a more flexible culture. Because there's ritual and all that, because culture had ritual, then we fit each other. So people can fit into culture. That happens.
Yeah, Wendy wanted to say something? Not anymore? Okay.
Right? And people can learn skill because skill always changes. That's our argument.
But it's so I guess the question there is which one
More
gives
important.
in, right?
Correct.
Is it like which is cheaper to change? Is it training or changing?
The hard skill is surprisingly easier to change. Because in software industry, we don't have a choice.
I think the correct question is to be like, if you're hiring, what sort of points do you look in terms of like culture fit? What sort of values that are you looking for? For me, it's just don't be
operationalize it. Don't be a jerk, right?
Don't be a jerk. Don't like be respectful with different opinions.
Correct.
Not to be too political correct, but at least you don't have to like penalize somebody for speaking, like trying to share their opinions with you.
Yes.
And
just because you're senior doesn't mean you want to impose your way of doing things to us.
And also one of the thing is the most important thing for me is don't be a lone wolf.
Yes.
Like how do you get that out from an interview, for example?
I don't know. That's why interview is very hard.
Interviewing is very hard. It's not a checkbox that you can do.
Okay.
We should talk about interview experience after this.
Yeah, Wendy?
I was going to talk about my interview experience.
Yeah, try it out.
I had a very interesting one where usually like when you interview, it's only like one or two people, right? Once I interviewed, it was with a team that I was about to join. So I think that was their cultural assessment of me, like how well do I gel with the team members.
That's a very good interview
that's very
strategy. But that's also the reason why it's not done more often is because there's a lot of investment by the team, because it's like 1 hour of all of these team members not doing work but interviewing. Yes. So if you are interviewing in such a company and you see like 5 people and then they work with you, then that means that company is investing a lot in your interview, and you have to feel like okay, this is something very big.
That probably the right place to be.
Yeah. I actually wanted to well
Damn
segue from there. I actually wanted to ask like other side, right? So instead of hiring, like which companies, what kind of culture in companies would you want to uh, be working for? Let's say because you're not the current job that you have is not there anymore. Let me go to YouTube. Okay, that means Chilyong going to the left. Chilyong, Johnson, Swimeng, me, and then Wendy.
Okay. For me, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Like what kind of things in culture are you looking for as when you're wanting to join a company or start a business? Or maybe that's a better question. If you were to start a business, what are the key cultural points that you will make sure that business has?
You mean like probably like in a partner, something like that?
Yeah.
Communication. Basically, it's all down to communication, like honesty, like don't hide issues, like yeah. I think that's about it. Just be honest. Don't hide issues. Yeah, I did. My experience is I did 2 startups before, so what the biggest takeaway from for me is the most important thing is communication, because if you hide the issue saying like, oh, it's not a big deal, so and gradually when I think it's the same as relationship as well. I think that this if you stop communicating, gradually it become a habit of not saying things to each other, then the gap is there. When you have an argument, they become really bad. Yeah. I think it's all down to communication. It's just a habit of communicating regularly and be honest, and like even small issues sometimes matters, because then everybody is reassured. Yeah.
So next
Johnson?
one is Johnson. Yeah.
I agree with Chileon saying that the
It's not about agreeing. It's about what what are you looking for?
To agree with me, to copy my answers, please.
No, I was trying to add on to the communications part. So my company, St. at Tristan, we have lunch. So we set a time during a day, 12:45. Everyone need to go out and eat together. So it's like a kind of like hard rules. So the aircon, everything will be off. The lights will be off. After that, everyone need to go out and just eat together. So it kind of form a bonds. So the first key is communications. And in my team, all of us have a similar interest in what we are doing. So all of us have the similar interest, so we can move together very fast. So there's also one of the things that you might want to look into, instead of just let's say you are doing mobile apps, you are just gonna do mobile apps, like that company want to hire mobile developers is just gonna go there, but more towards like what the company is doing underlining. Yeah, I mean, that be what I'm looking for. That industry that I would be interested.
Swimeng?
I'm still figuring this out, believe it or not, but I have a few guideline. Okay, it's not foolproof. One, avoid any company that wears suit. They force you to wear suit. Do not join them ever.
Why?
That usually implies a company is very structured, more traditional.
Yeah, but when I joined my company, we had to wear suits. Nowadays,
I know.
I just wear shirts.
Yeah. It's not 100% filter, but it's a good filter for me. It's like 30% chance I won't join them. Second is I prefer an organization that don't have filter. So usually when I go to interview, I literally have no filter and see how comfortable they are.
So you're testing your interviewers.
As a senior level, you
I
have
pity them fools.
you have to evaluate whether it's your job to evaluate whether your company suits you. And also another good filter is whether that allows you to look around the company. And final one is whether the company have pets.
Is that a good or bad point?
Yeah.
Tarantulas.
So one of the best companies I worked with had a pet cat.
Tarantula, like when they say, does tarantula considers a good pet?
Yeah, I don't mind. The point is, you got the flexibility, right?
Mhm.
I would call the tarantula crawler, but or scraper.
There's
Yeah,
some
definitely.
cliche of it.
Yeah,
Got
but
a python, you sure join.
yeah, I
Probably
would
have
kill
a
a python.
butcher.
But so that's the three thing, right? First is the my first filter is the clothing. The second filter is whether they accept me being no filter, and whether they allow me to just look right at the company.
Mhm.
These are the three things that I would do.
Yes.
That the pet one is part serious, but it implies that a company is more relaxing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So for me, the important thing for me is actually presence, not physical presence, but presence in such that you're on Slack, or if when you say you're working, then you can be reached. You're available, like you're present, basically, like you answer questions or whatever, or you participate in conversation, and you just don't drop off and then just come back up during Scrum, let's say, and then, oh, this is what I did, and I did a lot of things, and then goodbye, radio silence again. So for me, like that's what I would be looking for if I'm going to be joining a company. Like how do people interact? Like, are they present with each other? And alongside with that is, I would like to, like, for the culture part, like having very frequent sync
Mhm.
of people. Like, that's why I really like the lunches. That's also why, for any project, like when I was doing freelance before, like I insist that I touch base with the stakeholders once a day, with every day, for on the same time. It's because I really value the sync. Like, okay, let's talk about this. Um, what do you think of that? And it's the same time, and it's like it's a regular thing. It's a ritual, like you were saying. And the
Mhm.
third thing is that I would like that people challenge other people as well, not just
Mhm.
challenge each other, challenge me. I challenge them as well. Like, making sure that the ideas that are flowing around are the best ideas, and that we work only on the best ideas, because someone might be like saying, "Oh, this is a great idea. Let's do this." And just because they're the most senior, experienced person in the group, everyone just follows. And that's not necessarily the best idea. That might not even be the best implementation. It's just that people are afraid.
Hijacking this, a bit of
Yeah.
off topic, but that was one of the way we last time in, I don't know where I read it from, like one of the ways to validate if you're in the startup, to
Mhm.
validate the idea, because if you're not attacking your idea that
Mhm.
you think that is probably the best, I mean, the market will do it for you, and you
Yeah.
probably will be too late to realize that.
Yep.
Yeah. So those are the items that I value in a company or organizational culture, that if I were to apply all over again, that those are what I'll be looking for.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wendy?
For me, I don't know if it's easy to spot this, but what I look for is my colleagues,
Mhm.
my coworkers who treat the job as more than just a job. Like for instance, someone who treats the job as just a job is, I just do what I'm told.
It's a retirement house.
Yeah, I guess so. But when you're invested in your career, you kind of you want to know what's next for you, right? So naturally, you want to know how you can, uh, you kind of design what's next for you. So when you're around colleagues like that, people who are paving like their career paths, who are pushing themselves to do better, naturally you feel inspired to not be lazy also lah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that's easy to spot, but that's one of the things I would enjoy.
I see.
Yeah. The second thing would be, like Trista said, how people interact with each other. I would look for people who are comfortable talking to each other. Like, they don't have to be best friends, but they have to feel like, you're not a total stranger to me. You're my colleague, but I don't talk to you when I have to talk to you. They can have a proper conversation, maybe even about their hobbies or something interesting. And yeah, And actually, when I joined my company, my boss showed me a picture of a cat in the office, and I thought, okay, that just increased, the possibilities by a lot. Because
Nice.
yeah,
Okay.
because one of my colleagues bring his okay, I went over time.
No. It's I thought you were done. I just wanted to give a shout out to the people who were watching.
Mhm.
Um, the big. So are we good with everything? Because we
I
probably
think
go
we're
to the
good. We
next.
should really
Yeah.
look at the feedback.
Mhm.
So mostly Nicholas.
Yeah, he says that he wasn't expecting that there was packed dinner because the invitation said light refreshment, and we actually had uh, what spaghetti? Was that spaghetti? I
Yeah,
don't know. I
spaghetti with
don't.
chicken and
Chicken, the
veggie.
chicken was very good actually.
Oh yes.
Damn, I missed the food. Damn
Yeah,
it.
and,
Yeah.
and they actually let us raid their fridge.
Yes. They prepare some
So
drinks,
Yeah.
mango
it's
juice.
Is that a
he
sign
said
of
it's just
good
very
culture
good.
fit?
Oh yeah. At least they try.
Yeah. So maybe it's for the employees. So maybe that's how Microsoft tries to improve company morale.
Mhm.
And yeah, so and then he mentions that sometimes calling someone a boss might be a bit insulting. I guess this is about context as well. Like if you
I think
if you're being sarcastic, right?
in Malaysia we call everybody boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you go to the Baba, like the Baba you call him boss, and when you want when you want the waiter also like boss,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't call everyone
you
boss.
reply with boss.
Yeah.
There's a lot of boss going on around.
Yes. And also it's the tone and attitude.
Yeah.
Some people do not like people use the tone boss with fear on all that.
Hmm.
It's one of those more modern organization.
At least for people that wants to hire swimming, you just need to make sure that there's pets.
Yeah.
Okay. So Wendy opened up a good discussion about interviews. Maybe we can split off this like tonight's topic and
Yeah.
branch off into interviews, like because that's interesting. Like, how
Yeah.
would you interview someone, and what are your current interview processes if they're not a secret, let's say?
Yeah.
And that's a good topic for next week.
Yep.
I
So
think
with that
that's
said, I think we are done, right?
yeah wrapping up for tonight.
So good night. So before we close, subscribe, click like, subscribe to Spotify,
Yeah.
and share it to your friends,
Yeah, and
family.
for swimming, please. If
Do-
you like swimming,
yeah,
press like.
yeah. Also share it to your cats and all that. So and dogs.
That's
So
all.
that's it. Goodbye.
Bye.